Shall we begin?
Why would a good God allow suffering to exist? Does God really exist?
Let's begin now.
Why did God command the deaths of so many people in the Bible? Why does God remain so hidden? I'm here with Dr. Tony Costa, who is a New Testament scholar and apologist. We're making this video in response to Hopsin's Ill Mind of Hopsin 7, where he vents his frustration towards God. Okay. So now Hopsin in his video says he can't trust the Bible. A human wrote it, and you hear this time and time again. How would you respond to that?
Well, I would respond and say, well, who else would have written it? Would we expect aliens to have written it, or giraffes? Who else would have written the Bible? If the Bible is a book that God wanted to use to communicate to humans, who else would he use to write it? Well, obviously, he would use humans as the conduits of his communication. And what do we have in the Bible? Well, we have an ancient text written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, and these are human languages. And so God sovereignly uses these human beings to write his words to us in language that we can understand. Now, that doesn't mean that these human beings were therefore imperfect when they wrote these texts. There's a doctrine of inspiration where God preserved his word through these writers. He kept them from error. And this is what we call, again, inspiration and inerrancy and so forth. So, of course, human beings wrote it. The church has never, ever contested that question. But the real question is, how did God use these humans? He preserved them from error as they wrote these words down, but he also preserved their personality. That is to say, when you read the Bible, you read and hear about the agony of Job, about the agony of the psalmist as they cry out to God, where are you? Just like Hopsin's doing, minus all the profanities. But the psalmists cry out to God and say, God, where are you? Why are you so far from me? Why are you hiding from us? And so forth. So these are legitimate questions that Hopsin is asking. But if you notice, there's a presupposition behind his questions, and that is he's already made up his mind. So here's the danger is, instead of asking these really honest questions, he approaches these questions, but with already a preconceived notion that, you know, you're not there anyway, so why should I care? I can just do whatever I want. It's my life, and I'll just do what I want.
He says in the beginning of his video, is it wrong to believe in right and wrong? How would you respond to that?
Well, first of all, that's shooting yourself in the foot. Is it wrong to believe in right and wrong, or is it right to believe in right and wrong? Well, you're answering half the question. And so you're using a moral guide to ask whether there's morality. And so what ends up happening is you start engaging in what we call circular reasoning and logic. You're going around in a circle. And so he presupposes by the very question that there is a moral code. If there is no morality, then there is no right or wrong. But to even use that language presupposes that morality exists.
Okay.